Oh, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us on Marketing Your Brand webinar, the second in the 2020 AIG Mentoring Program Personal Branding Series, presented by Patrick McCandless. Unfortunately, Doug Young was unable to be here today, so you've got me, Peter Christo, here as your host. For those who weren't in the last webinar, Patrick McCandless' career in the mining industry spans over 45 years and covers exploration for base and precious metal deposits all over the world. He managed large-scale exploration projects for both large and small companies with a focus on porphyry copper, VMS, epithermal gold and diamonds. He was part of the team that discovered the Northeast Zone in British Columbia and high-grade 144 Zone in Nevada. Rick has received numerous awards throughout his career, including the Women in Mining 2017 Rick Hudson Memorial Award for mentoring women in the mining industry, and the Association of Professional Engineers and Geoscientists of British Columbia 2006 CJ Masterman Memorial Award for significant contributions to professional geoscience and outstanding community service, amongst many other awards. He is a guest lecturer at over 500 universities, colleges and schools across North and South America, Africa, Australia and Europe, and provides students and graduates of all levels and disciplines with a set of practical tools for effectively transitioning from learning to earning. So now I'd like to hand over to Patrick to get the webinar started. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks everybody for joining us for this second round of personal brand workshops. And before I begin, I'd just like to acknowledge the excellent work that Peter and Doug and all of the folks that are associated with IAG mentoring program, just what an outstanding job you're doing in supporting the career development of both students and young professionals. Just outstanding. World class. I've been involved in a number of mentoring programs, and this is without question one of the best. So last week we did the initial workshop, Discovering Your Brand, and thank you so much for those that submitted your brand statements. Outstanding work. And so now what we're going to do is look at ways of featuring your brand statement. In other words, marketing your unique way of making a difference. So we're going to start with marketing your brand. So we're going to take this beautiful brand statement that you've created, and if you're joining us just for the first time, you can always go onto my website and go through the initial workshop and create a brand statement, so not all is lost. But I'm going to assume that most have created a brand statement. So how do we feature this brand statement? We're going to look at a series of brand products, and we're going to look at what I call a brand card or business card. We're going to look at the LinkedIn profile. We're going to have a look at what I call a brand resume. And finally, we're going to look at networking. So 4 different ways of featuring your brand statement and marketing yourself. So let's start with the business card or brand card. So there's some components to this brand card that are important, and we want to have it so that this brand card, when you hand it to somebody, they're going to remember you. Not only are they going to remember you, you're going to stand out in a stack of cards. That is the important thing. Last week we talked about being the purple cow. This enables you to be the purple cow with the purple card. Okay, so components to this brand card. Most important is the brand image. So the idea of the brand image is we want to tie it into our brand statement if possible. So the brand statement, or at least the brand image, needs to be an image that tells a story. So a passport photo doesn't tell a story. So if you haven't got a brand image, pretty easy to get one. So in this case, Mohammed actually didn't have a brand image. So he got himself a hard hat and a cruiser vest and actually used Photoshop to Photoshop in a mine site in the background. You don't have to do that. So if you're a geoscientist or a geoscientist student, and your focus is exploration, you might want to take an image of you standing at an outcrop with a rock hammer in your hand, or if you're in environmental geoscience, maybe it's you kneeling down by a creek, taking a creek sample. Pretty easy to get these brand images if you haven't got one already. So to go with the brand image is name in large letters, your discipline, be it engineering or geoscience or whatever your career discipline is, and your contact information, which is going to be primarily email and phone number. That's all you need to have on there. No address. We don't need to clutter up the card. And then underneath the brand image is the brand statement. You notice it's in quotes. So normally when you use this card, it's at the end of a conversation. We want people to be using this card as a reminder of you as a unique difference maker. On the back of the card, you can list skills. So if you're a geoscience student, you can include geological mapping, data analysis, whatever you want to put, or engineering, surveying, mine planning, whatever your career discipline is, you can list the skills. So what this becomes is a mini resume. So that's what you're handing out. That's what you're exchanging at the end of a conversation, is you're actually handing them all the information they need to assess your potential to make a difference and as a prospective employee. Here's another example. This is actually a secondary student, a high school student who worked in the volunteer space in the care home. So there's a brand image. So the important thing with the brand image is we need to see your face and make sure it tells a story. So here we are, leading with empowerment and persistence to build value in the community. Beautiful brand statement. Contact information, on the back, skills. Now this is a high school student, so the skills she used were more soft skills: organization, time management, self-motivated, flexible, etc. So you can use a combination of hard skills, depending on your career discipline, or soft skills. So that's the card. So how do you make one of these cards? Well, you can go to any print shop website. Vistaprint is one that a lot of students use. Pick a two-sided template and you can plop in brand image, brand statement, name, contact information, and on the back you can put in your skills. It takes about 5 minutes to do, not very expensive. So as part of your next step and how I can help you out, I would like you to create a brand card featuring your brand image, and you can send a draft version to me via email. I'll give you the contact information at the end of the presentation. Yeah, love to see it, and we'll make sure it's being effective as a marketing tool. Let's talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the primary source that recruiters use worldwide for assessing your potential as a prospective employee. And the reason for that is LinkedIn is organized into sections. That's why resumes at some point are going to become obsolete, because they're random in their formatting, and it's difficult to find out how a person makes a difference, given that most recruiters spend on average about 6 seconds on a resume. That's why they go to LinkedIn. It's easy to dive deep into the assessment of the individual, and they can do it quickly. It's also interesting, they have search engines, and they're looking for keywords. So your brand statement is filled with the keywords that are going to attract the kind of companies that you're interested in working for. So the most important thing, apart from the brand statement on a LinkedIn profile, is image. And the key with a brand image is it needs to be consistent. It needs to be the same with all the platforms you're using, resumes, etc. So keep it consistent. Make sure you can see the face and make sure it's telling a story. That's the most important thing. Recruiters will not look at a LinkedIn profile if there's no image. So if you're hesitant about an image, I wouldn't bother using LinkedIn profile because it's got to have an image. Underneath the image is name, and then right underneath that in quotes is the brand statement. And again, search engines are going to pick up keywords, and that's the first thing they see. So when somebody's looking at your LinkedIn profile, they're looking for difference makers. We're giving them that information in 10 words or less. Underneath the brand statement, you can have, what university you're attending, or if you have professional standing, that sort of thing. That's important. There's an about section in the LinkedIn profile, and there what essentially you want to do is describe where you're at. In other words, you're a geoscientist, you're an engineer, or whatever the discipline is, or you're a geoscience student, and what your intention is. So where you're at, where you want to go, and then underneath it, just a quick couple of lines of what your skills are. So in this case, she's got GIS mapping, mitigation, geological mapping, etc. So that's your primary way of marketing yourself. So resumes are really a secondary or follow-up piece. Now, I know there are applications that require you to submit a resume, and that's absolutely fine, and you should complete a resume. So here's a standard resume, and I'm not putting it down. I mean, there's so many different formats and rules around resumes. And as I was mentioning, the average amount of time that's spent on a resume by a recruiter is 6 seconds. So if you've sent out resumes and wondered why you haven't heard back, the reason is they never read it. So, and that includes the cover letter. So we can improve that. We can take all the content of your resume and we can make it into a brand resume. So the features of a brand resume to make it stand out in a stack of 75 resumes. First thing is name in large letters and contact information, just email and phone number, no address. We don't need to know where you live. That's not critical, and nobody uses snail mail. They're not going to get a hold of you via letter, so no sense putting it in. I like to use a couple of brand images, but if you've just got one brand image, that's fine. If you're not comfortable using an image, that's fine. Don't. It's just that the brand image, especially if it tells a story, is a way of making your resume stand out. So if you're comfortable with it, please go ahead and use a career-related brand image. Passport photo doesn't tell a story. Get one of you in the field or whatever your career discipline is. Thing is, with those people that are uncomfortable with brand images, that are concerned about discrimination and things like that, My response to that is, do you want to work for a company that operates that way? And at some point they're going to see you, especially if you get into an interview situation. So once again, though, whatever you're comfortable with. Underneath the image and name, brand statement in quotes. So remember, in the About section in the LinkedIn profile, we want to put a box right underneath the brand statement. And essentially, again, it's where I'm at, where I'm going, what I'm interested in. And right underneath it, list your skills. And you notice what she's done here. She's bolded the skills. You've now given, in 6 seconds or less, all the information that a person needs to know about you and your story. If they're interested, they're going to read the whole story. So what she's done here is she's taken each of those bolded skills and she has created a section called Skills Summary. Right underneath it, she's taken each one of those bolded skills down and described it in one line. What makes a brand resume really effective is getting a third-party quote. So what you do is you send an email to one of your supervisors and say, this is a skill that I acquired under your supervision. Could you please make a one-line comment? Just want a short comment, quote. You can go onto my website and there's lots of examples of resumes that are just filled with quotes. So you just get a few quotes for your various skills. What that does is it gives a measure of the skill, of the value of the skill. Anybody can say they do geological mapping, but when you get a third-party professional geoscientist, for example, that says you're excellent at it, then that validates the quality of that skill. So once again, lots of examples in my on my website. So here we are. Everything you need, everything your reader needs in 6 seconds or less is there. And it makes a statement about you as a unique difference maker. If they're interested, they're going to read the whole resume. So this resume is 4 pages. I don't care whether it's 4 pages, 8 pages, 20 pages, doesn't really matter. All the information that is key is in the first half of the first page. So really, if you create that format in the first page, and then you can just add all the information from your current resume, absolutely fine. Once again, lots of examples on my website. And I'll re-emphasize that the resume is typically a follow-up when somebody says, have you got a resume? Actually, I would refer them to your LinkedIn profile first. But if you need to send them an electronic version, fine. So all I'm asking you to consider is a typical resume, and I've looked at thousands of resumes, and a lot of them look like this. So in a stack of 75, which one's going to stand out? So this is another little assignment, is to go on my website and create a brand resume. Just try one out and plop in a couple of brand images or one brand image, take your brand statement, create a little summary box, and yeah, just see what it looks like. Send me a version and I'll have a look at it for you. Of the 4 brand products or way of marketing yourself, networking is probably the most important. 80% of jobs that you are going to be getting throughout your career journey are going to be due to networking. So the key is expand your network, and there's lots of ways of doing that. So we're going to look at social media as a possibility. So I use social media a lot. I use LinkedIn, I use Facebook, I use Instagram, Twitter, just to let people know what I'm doing. So if I'm volunteering or I'm teaching or doing a webinar, I'll often do a tweet or post it in LinkedIn, just to let your network know that you're out there making a difference. I've got a website. You can get a domain and start marketing yourself that way, just talking about certain aspects of your career. I know some students who have created huge followings with a domain, and a very effective way of marketing yourself and expanding your network. And interviews, just a great way to market yourself. We're going to look at that in a little more detail. And probably one of the most important things is one-on-one conversations. I know with COVID, it's a little bit difficult right now, but even in Zoom calls, Skype calls, those are like one-on-one conversations. So same sort of thing. So let's focus in on the last two. Let's look at interviews, and some of you have had interviews. Some of you have got some interviews that are potentially coming up. So whether they're done over the phone, via Zoom, whatever the case may be, the same thing applies. So the thing with networking that I want you to think about is like fishing. So on the end of your line is a lure that you want to attract the right kind of fish with. And that lure represents your brand statement. So not every fish is going to like your lure. That's okay. Not every organization is going to hire you, but the ones that like how you make a difference are potentially the organizations that want to hire you. And those are the kind of organizations who like how you make a difference are going to be the same ones that are interested in helping you grow as you help the organization grow. Typical question in an interview. Tell me about yourself. So the attention span of most people, including the interviewer, is about 6 seconds. So we want to be able to effectively market ourselves. And the key to an interview is to take control. And when I say take control, is you're now looking for opportunities to say your brand statement. Tell me about yourself. So in this case, I'm a high school student. In your case, I'm a university student, or I'm a geoscience student, or I'm an engineering student, or I'm a law student. Whatever the case may be, just, when somebody says, so Patrick, what do you do? I'm a mentor. So I'm a high school student, and then brand statement. Helping my community with small actions that make big differences. So these people, in an interview, they're interviewing maybe 25, 30, 40, 50 people. You need to stand out as a difference maker. The brand statement, which is 10 words or less, is going to be your effective way of marketing yourself and standing out. So you're going to, 9 times out of 10, you're going to pique their interest. And so then what you do is you back up your brand statement with what I call a value statement. And a value statement is really a specific way that you have created value. Now, that could be in the school experience, it could be in volunteering, it could be in the work experience, or it could be in a leisure activity like music, dance, sports. So what that does, what the interviewer is looking for is, can you make a difference for our company? What you're doing is you're articulating that you have experience in making a difference, and you're going to do the same thing with the company that you potentially are going to be working for. So a few tips in an interview, and these are very straightforward, but it's important that you grip with a firm handshake, which is not going to work for Zoom. but just be relaxed, speak with a confident voice. If you're on a Zoom call, use eye contact when speaking. And probably the most important thing is don't think out loud. So many people use so many ums and it's just distracting. Give your reader a chance to absorb quickly and effectively how you are a difference maker. So here's probably the most important thing is show an interest in the company. So do some research on the company and ask technical questions if there's an opportunity to do that. But what you want to do in taking control of the interview is you want to turn the tables. You want to be thinking, do I want to work for this company? So the thinking around that is you want to know if you're going to be supported in your career development. So one of the great questions that you might ask is, do you have a mentorship program? That's a good question. The answer is no. Well, how do you help your employees grow and develop? So these are two. If they don't have a response to that, that would be a yellow flag for me. These are 11 of probably the top questions that you are going to be asked. In each one of these questions, there's an opportunity to say your brand statement. So what motivates you? Any opportunity to use my brand. Oh, what's your brand? Then you say your brand statement. What are your weaknesses? Well, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. However, I use it as an opportunity to serve my brand. At the very least, be positive. So what are your weaknesses? A bit of a perfectionist. However, I use it as an opportunity to grow and develop. How you make a difference or add value? That's easy. That's your brand statement. So anyway, it's just important to keep it positive and show that you're a difference maker by using your brand statement not only once, but a couple of times in the interview, if possible. One-on-one conversations, really, really important way of networking yourself. So the key with one-on-one conversations, and you can be doing these at conferences, lectures, dinner events, all kinds of different things. It's just a great way to expand your network. So introduce yourself and ask questions. 80% of people in a room are typically talkers, so be a listener. So here's Hannah at a conference, and so she's asking the professional, what brings you to the conference? Blah, blah, blah. They go on and on. What company do you work for? So lots of interesting and engaging questions. And then ultimately it comes around to, so tell me about you. What about you? Tell me about yourself. So this is a perfect fishing opportunity. Remember, you're trying to attract the right kind of fish. So you put the right kind of lure or bait on the bottom of that line. And in this case, it's the brand statement. So I'm a geology student, or I'm a geoscience student. And then you say your brand statement. Perfect way of, and so Hannah's used this brand statement and is scored, she's still in university, so she's scored part-time work all the time using her brand statement. So 9 times out of 10, or if the party is interested, they're going to want to know more. And again, that's where you can talk about something that you've done specifically in either the school experience, work experience, volunteering, or leisure activity. So it doesn't have to be related to your career. What's important is you've demonstrated that you're a difference maker. And really, it is a one-on-one correlation to how you're going to work in the workspace. So we talked about the business cards. So once you've finished a one-on-one conversation, it's very important to follow up same day with just a thank you. So now they've got your business card with your brand statement, brand image, which is a reminder, and skills on the back. So they've essentially got a mini resume. Now you want to follow up with a thank you, same day that you had the conversation, and just reference where you had the conversation. Then go on their website, do a little bit of research. 2 weeks later, follow up with some engaging questions. Never re-asking, never ask about a job. What we want you to do is practice showing an interest. So just ask more questions. Hey, I got on your website. I've got a question about the ABC deposit and the argillic overprint as it relates to copper boronite ratios or whatever. So just, you know, get some facts out of a 43-101 report and turn it into a question. So you're not bugging people. What you're doing is you're standing out in the crowd, right? You're showing an interest, which immediately makes you stand out, and you are showing that you are a difference maker. So Purple Cows are difference makers. They have brand statements. It's your unique way of making a difference. So I've got a website, geodudecorner.com. Lots of examples of brand cards, brand resumes, brand statements, of course. So jump on the site, and what I'd like you to do is draft up a brand resume and definitely a brand card, and let's get you moving along in the spectrum towards being market ready. And you can send me those products, resume and the brand card in draft form if you like, to pmcandless@telus.net. I'd absolutely love to hear from you and even get feedback on how things went with the workshop. So that's a wrap, Peter. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Patrick. That was excellent. I haven't got any questions from the attendees yet, so please just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, and we can get some conversations going. I'll throw in a question as a few people get their thoughts together. Most geologists, I think it's fair to say, are introverts, so making that first contact, particularly at a conference where there's lots of people around, can be quite difficult. Do you have any tips for breaking the ice and making that contact?
Great question, Peter. Absolutely, and I certainly do. And I've worked with people who are incredibly timid, and I think the important thing with a brand statement is to get comfortable with it and then treat it as a script. So the key in a one-on-one conversation is asking questions. So you introduce yourself and ask questions. So you know, I've had geoscience students who just had great brand statements, but very uncomfortable talking to people. And I said, just treat it as a script. Walk up to somebody and say, hi, my name's Aaron. What brings you to the conference? And they'll be happy to talk to you. Nobody's going to bite, and nobody's going to run away and or not talk to you. So they're going to go on, and, you know, and just ask questions. What company do you work for? You know, these are just have a little script of questions. And then, you know, then you've got your lure ready to go. And if they say, so tell me about yourself, you say, I'm a geology student, or I'm a geoscience student, or I'm a geoscientist, and just say your brand statement. And if they don't bite, they're not attracted to the lure, no problem. exchange cards, move on to the next one. If they say, that's kind of interesting, because everybody's looking for difference makers. So they go, oh, that's kind of interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. And then what you say, well, you know, my example volunteering at such and such, or my part-time work at such and such, or my experience in doing my research paper, I did such and such. So it's just a little value statement. And anybody that wants help working on a value statement, we can do a one-on-one Skype call and we can flush out a value statement. But that's how you do it. It's a fishing trip.
Excellent. Thanks, Patrick. Got a question from Matthew Hammond. Matthew, go ahead.
Yeah, my question was about the value statement. So I might just put that into an email.
Okay, so Matthew, thanks very much for asking about that. So I'm going to tell you what my value statement is. So here I am, I'm at a conference, and you know, I walk up to somebody, hey, what brings you to the conference? Hi, my name's Patrick. What brings you to the conference? Blah, blah, blah. They go on, and I'm showing interest. I'm asking lots of questions. So Patrick, what do you do? I'm a mentor, helping others discover their greatness. Really? So 9 times out of 10, like they're, what? Like how do you do that? And so what I say with my value statement is I do personal branding workshops worldwide, helping students and professionals transition from learning to earning. So now I'm in a conversation every time this happens. So I'm not trying to get employment. What I'm trying to do is get speaking gigs. And that's typically what happens. I mean, I'm now well over 500 speaking engagements worldwide, and it's all because of networking. But we'll work on that together, Matthew.
Okay, thank you. And thank you very much for all the workshop. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate that very much.
Thanks, Patrick. Roland, Olivia, Zita, you've got some questions I noticed on the Q&A. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask the question yourself?
Yes. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
We've got you, Roland.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I would like you to explain more what comes after the brand statement when you are branding your image and in LinkedIn or in the resume.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing that. So I'm going to help you in 2 ways here. One, I would encourage you to go on to my website, geodudecorner.com, and look at some of the example resumes, and you can see the little summary box. So in LinkedIn, it's the About section. So in the About section, you want to keep it fairly short, and you want to help your reader assess quickly how you potentially can make a difference. So where you're at, meaning are you a student? Are you a professional? So in my case, I say I'm a mentor because I'm not marketing myself as a professional geoscientist anymore. So whatever you are, and then what you're interested in, with a specific interest in environmental geoscience or exploration geology or whatever so where you're at, where you want to go, and then underneath that in the About section, you can say, I have acquired technical skills in. So if you're in geoscience, perhaps you've done core logging, geological mapping, and I would highlight each of those skills. And same with the resume. Right underneath your brand statement, you have a box, which I call a summary box, where you're at, where you want to go, or what you're interested in, and what skills you have. And then bold each of those skills. Underneath that, you can just put your rest of your resume information, or have a look at some of the examples on my website. There's a section underneath called Skills Summary, where they've taken each of the skills, brought it down and bolded it. And then they've got quotes, third-party quotes embedded underneath each of those skills. Very, very powerful, very effective way of marketing yourself. Does that help out?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So yeah, send me an email. Anything I can help you with, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Roland. James has a question.
Yeah, good day, Patrick. How you going?
Excellent.
It was just sort of a question around LinkedIn. You're saying, it's probably more powerful than a resume. I'm not big on the social medias, but it sounds like I should be more engaged with it. Yeah, do you see the value in LinkedIn and people or recruiters using LinkedIn?
It's a powerful tool if you use it right. So I know recruiters, most of the major companies have got search engines, so they're looking for keywords, and they're not using resumes. Resumes are too random in their format, and it's just so difficult to assess people, whereas LinkedIn's broken into categories. So that's the power of LinkedIn. It's easy to make an assessment. And I'll tell you a brief story of a recruiter who is looking at 75 candidates for a mining engineering position. And so he used LinkedIn, and he went right down to the volunteer section. And I didn't mention this in the presentation, but I'm going to mention it now, how important volunteering is, because volunteering is definitely difference making at the highest levels, and it's on your own nickel. So that's what makes it important. So 75 applicants. He immediately went to the volunteering section in each of the LinkedIn profiles. Took him about 10 minutes. He threw out 28 of them because there was no volunteering experience. So for everybody who's got volunteering experience, even if it goes back to high school, put it in your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn, James, is powerful in another way. I use it to let people know what I'm doing. If I'm doing a webinar, for example, I'll maybe post it on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm doing a webinar in Chile or whatever. And so it's the power there is that it's letting your network know. And then there's networks, there's people that connect within that network that suddenly see that you're, and who knows, maybe they're interested in getting a hold of you. And to find out more information about you. So, and I hear what you say about social media platforms, not for everybody, but it is, I know Instagram is used at the corporate level and at the personal level to get stories out. And so, yeah, more and more students and professionals are now using social media platforms, including LinkedIn, as a way of marketing themselves.
Just on that, like, how do you direct people towards your LinkedIn page then? Like, I'm not sure if it's just like a simple app type feature you've got with Twitter or how it works.
Yeah, so there's many, yeah. So let's just say LinkedIn has got all your information on it, including your brand statement and brand image. So now you're out networking, and somebody says, hey, I'd like to find out more about you. Have you got a resume? Well, actually, you know what? I'd encourage you to go onto my LinkedIn profile, which is, the link is on my business card. So that's one way of getting people onto your LinkedIn. And then there's people within your network who you've connected with on LinkedIn who are connected to other people who see your profile, and who knows if they might show an interest. But I've just got so many people now doing little posts on LinkedIn saying, hey, I just did some volunteering at the such and such. Just little things, just little ways of telling the world that you're a difference maker.
Patrick, could I just add to that? It's always good to, with the LinkedIn as well, when you're looking at other people's profiles, and if you've seen a post that other people have made, if you can make an insightful comment, do it.
Yes.
If it's not insightful, avoid it. If you're not adding anything, run away from those kind of comments. Don't get into arguments. But if you've got something insightful to ask or to make, go ahead and do that. People will see it, and then they'll start looking at you with a little bit more interest and say, hey, this person's interesting. I might want to connect with them. And when you're reaching out to connect with people, please write a message with the invitation. So if you've never met them, don't just send out an invitation.
Yeah, because we're not gonna accept those invitations. If it's hey, I met you at a conference, blah blah blah. I'd love to connect a little bit more. Absolutely. And your other point is so key. I just saw an example the other day of somebody who commented on somebody's post about epithermal veins, and they added value to the comment. So you're absolutely right. It's don't get into arguments. Just if you're going to post or make a comment, make it so you're adding value to the comment. Good one.
Excellent. Thanks, James. While I wait for a few more, I'm sure there's other people that have got questions. One I've got, I guess, is around, we're now in a generation that has spent a lot of time online and have said and done things perhaps on Facebook or elsewhere, which in hindsight may not be a well thought out thing to do, or LinkedIn. How do you distance yourself from that while trying to maintain a brand or build a new brand?
Yeah, so boy, that's a really good point. Yeah, so any social media that you're using, be very mindful of what you're putting in, because companies who are assessing your potential as an employee immediately go on to your Facebook page, your Instagram page, and if they see things that are not encouraging, in other words, comments that you've made or inappropriateness, that's going to be a negative for you. So the way to distance it is use social media in a way that says you're a difference maker.
Excellent. Thanks, Patrick. Last chance for anyone else. There must be some other questions out there. If not, no one's going to put their hand up. I think we must be all trying to absorb it all. Just remind everyone.
I'm available if somebody's if a question pops up later on, or they're working on their brand resume or brand card. I'm always available via email, so don't hesitate. I know we've got a big time zone difference, but really we can make things work. I do Skype calls worldwide. We figure out the time zones, and my intention is helping others discover their greatness. Everybody who's listening has got greatness, including you, Peter. And so what I'm trying to do is help you market that greatness, because that greatness is what's going to make a difference, not only in our community, but in our industries. So really, I'm on a mission to bring that greatness to the front.
Fantastic. Thanks, Patrick. We do have a question from Michael. Michael, go ahead.
Patrick, another good presentation. Thanks very much. A couple of observations, I guess, in networking, and that is, what is your view, or question, what is your view on seeking further contacts through the person that you're talking to? Now, that's built into that is the approach of seeking advice or guidance or help or information. So it's not threatening the person that you're talking to. And most people, I think, react pretty well once they're not under the pressure to give you a job, is to try to assist. And as part of that assistance, do you recommend seeking follow-up contacts from that person into the fields that you're interested in pursuing?
Yeah, that's such an excellent question, Michael. And I think I can sum it up in one word: trust. So what you need to be doing is building trust with your contact. So initially you follow up and just, you know, if you can see that it's not at least initially going anywhere, you might say, you know, I'm going to remain interested in your company, and my intention is to serve my brand and make a difference in the industry. Is there anybody else you would suggest I contact? So you got to build a rapport. You got to build up a little trust, and yeah, then it should work out okay. You should be in a position where you can ask that kind of question. Have you got any leads for me? So timing is very, very important. So build up a little trust, a little conversation, and then maybe that would be the time to ask the question.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Looks like that might be all we've got at the moment. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you, Patrick, for your time and some excellent advice there.
Thank you.
Let you know, and all the mentors and mentees who are here, that this has been recorded, and if you want to go back and listen to it again, we'll have it on YouTube hopefully the next few days. And as Patrick has mentioned, please feel free to contact him. His details are on his website, and you would have seen them on some of the AIG stuff as well, and on the screen at the moment. Just a reminder that it's a very good time zone between Vancouver and Australia, so you've got at least half a day overlap, particularly East Coast.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, so I usually answer emails within the day. So you know, if somebody's got questions, concerns related to this workshop or the other workshop, or about career development in general, happy to help you out.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Patrick. On behalf of the AIG and the mentoring group, thanks very much, and we'll see you all next time.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it already.